Let's talk about AEW. Oh boy, strictly for the sickos. I mean, it is what it is. Holiday trash. December the 18th, 2024. We're going to try to get through this, but I probably watched more of this show than I should have, what I normally would, and I wish I hadn't, but it's going to be okay. I promise. We're going to make it through. So we started this show with a bunch of promos. Orange Cassidy and Jay White. Jay White talking about what's the focus on the world title. But to get that world title, he's got to go through the Death Riders, which means he has to trust people like Hangman Page because he's not stupid. Then Hangman said that he wanted to fight Moxley. That's really all he was interested in. And that leads us to the main event of the evening, which was a 6-man tag. Jay White, Hangman Page, Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta, Jon Moxley, and Pac. The match ends when Moxley rolls up Orange Cassidy from behind while Jay White and Hangman Page argue and shove each other. They do this because Hangman Page walked off in the middle of the match while Claudio was cheating to help the Death Riders, and he basically didn't do anything except hang out until Moxley was in the ring by himself, and then Hangman ran to the ring to fight him. This was about 5 or 10 minutes that Hangman was gone. I couldn't tell you, this match was excruciating to watch. I mean, this had probably the least amount of energy of anything on the show. This Death Riders thing, it is dead. And it's riding AEW into the ground. People like Hangman. The AEW fan base, they like Hangman as much as the WWE fan base likes Randy Orton. Now, I say that because they're very polarizing figures in that way. If you talk to anybody on the wrestling media, they hate Randy Orton. His matches are too slow, they're too boring. You know, he's been around for too long. He's lazy, blah, 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 blah. But ask a WWE fan if they like Randy Orton. Almost universally, everybody likes Randy Orton. Well, inversely, you ask the general public if they give a fuck about Hangman Page, the answer is no. But almost universally, everybody who loves AEW loves Hangman Page. And that includes the few people that was in this building. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what kind of building they were in because it looked really small. But it felt intimate. It felt tight. But I didn't care for this main event at all. Couldn't stand it, actually. I mean, it's a shame how I went from actually caring about Jay White and thinking Pac had a chance, and I actually didn't hate Moxley when this thing first started, to now I absolutely cannot watch anything with these people in it. I don't know how I'm going to get through this pay-per-view. I'm sitting here thinking about that pay-per-view like, oh my word, I have to sit through this main event. Can they put the main event on the pre-show? And it's not like people are going to leave, right? If you put Moxley and them on the pre-show, people aren't going to leave, right? At least I don't think so. All right, Darby Allin and Will Ospreay had a dual kind of promo where basically Darby Allin was like, it's showtime because he's still in Sting stuff. While Will Ospreay was talking about being on a different level. And they had a match, which was inarguably the best match on the show. I mean, that was easy. But this match, I think, is a great example of the style that AEW fans want. And it's also the style that turns off a lot of other people. Because I watched a great deal of this match. In fact, I think I watched all of it. When you start at the very beginning with something as simple as a headlock, and Will Ospreay, to his credit, does not even attempt to really get out of the move. To be quite honest, I thought about that during the match. When was the last time Will Ospreay did a submission hold? Does he know any submission holds? Does he know any grappling whatsoever? Any grappling? Because every time you watch a Will Ospreay match, it's loads of strikes, jumps, and counters. He almost does no grappling. No headlocks, no takedowns, no suplexes, nothing. It's like, whoa. It really took me a while to think about this. Like, he really is just an acrobat. And pretty much everything he does is either a jumping strike or something like that. I guess if you want to count cutters as grappling holds or moves where he picks people up as grappling holds, but I don't. I'm thinking more like, submission holds and, being able to counter submission holds, that sort of thing. Which, is the very basics. And you see Darby Allin doing some of that stuff. And I've seen Darby do it in other matches. So he has those techniques in his bag, but he tried to work a Will Ospreay match here. Meaning he did a lot of the choreographed spots. He jumps and Will Ospreay moves and he moves and Ospreay jumps. And I'm like, oh my God. It was all over the place. They did this spot that ended in a code red. It went a mile a minute. And I just didn't understand what they were doing. It's like basic, simple storytelling, basic, simple selling was thrown out the window because Ospreay can't do it. If Ospreay has to actually register a move, you can forget about it. So the big spot, I was actually okay with the match. It wasn't my favorite match. It wasn't like the best match I'd ever seen. They did the stupid coffin drop on the ring apron, which I never understand why Darby Allin likes doing that spot, but he does it all the time. This time was particularly ugly. They had went through all of that. And then they decided to take things to the next level because Will Ospreay doesn't know how to temper the things that he does. And he decided that he's going to perform a Styles Clash on Darby Allin off the ring apron. Now, why what was the purpose of doing that? So he does the Styles Clash off the ring apron onto the floor. Not only is that not the finish, it's not even factored into the match 3 minutes later. Because within the next 3 minutes, Darby Allin has won the match. And so I'm just, when you sit and you have the crowd chanting, you killed Darby, and 3 minutes later they're cheering because Darby Allin won. How did you go from death to winning in 3 minutes? There really is no explanation for it. So, how did Darby Allin manage to win? So, they did a close count-out spot, which was their version of selling. And as soon as Darby gets in the ring, Ospreay tries the Os Cutter. He counters it into the Scorpion Death Drop by Darby Allin. Then he hits him with two coffin drops from the top rope and pins him. So Will Ospreay has lost clean again. This is a Will Ospreay match. If you like Will Ospreay matches, you probably love this thing. But to me, this shows a lot of the holes in Will Ospreay's game. There's a lot of action. There's not a lot of thought. There's a lot of action. There's not a lot of emotion. There's no grappling. There's no real story that you're telling in the ring. Or, if you are telling the story, it's literally the same story every time, which is, can you top this? And then ultimately you get to the peak, and then you keep going, which defeats the purpose of the can you top this? I just don't get Will Ospreay. I really don't get it. And I felt bad for him, to be quite honest. He was on the internet. I think he was on social media, fishing for music videos because he did some cool stuff this year. And he wanted somebody to put together a video for him. I'm like, oh, what mark shit is that? I don't get this guy. I don't hate him because that would imply that I care more than I really do. It's just that for the guy to be the greatest wrestler in the world, he can't fucking wrestle. And I mean, actually grappling. He can't do that. He can't tell a functional basic story. He brutalizes big holes. It just absolutely throws him in the trash. There was no need for a babyface to give another babyface a Styles Clash off the ring apron. And then that could have been a great excuse for Darby to lose because he could have lost by count out. You know? Or he could have threw him back into the ring and pinned him. You know? But no, because bulletproof Darby, apparently he's made of titanium, and you can throw him from high places, and he'll still manage to survive. I mean, there was just no way to win in this situation. So, but this was certainly the match of the night, and that was pretty easy. Mercedes Moné defeated Anna Jay. So, I watched this match too. So Mercedes, she had a match with a Japanese girl on Sunday. I think her name was Hazuki. I did see that match. It was people ranting and raved about how great it was. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was like what did Dave Meltzer say? It was the greatest women's match to ever take place in North America, which is absolutely psychotic to say. And there's just no way that he can believe that. But one of the participants was Japanese, so he obviously believes it. But this match was far from that. And here's why I said that when you look at Will Ospreay, look at how Mercedes works. Mercedes actually uses holds. She uses submission holds. She doesn't apply them with a ton of pressure, but she has submission holds. She has counter holds. But what Mercedes doesn't have is natural athleticism. The girl can barely jump. Her frog splash is absolutely pathetic. Like, go watch her do a frog splash in this match. What? There was no frog in the frog splash. All right? But you can see how Mercedes actually can build a match. She works good as a heel. And she gives as good as she takes. And she takes very well. She sells really well. She registers everything. The only problem here is that you have Anna Jay. And Anna Jay is still very green. And even though she's been in the business, I think 4 years or something like that now, and she supposedly went to Japan and got so much better, it didn't seem like she was that much better. Like, this seems like a match Anna Jay would have had 3 years ago. It's not terrible, but it's not good either, you know? So, Mercedes wins with the Monet Maker. Who gives a shit? Statlander is watching on the video screen. Who cares? I mean, we've already been through Statlander and Mercedes. I guess they're going to run it back. And for the record, yes, I did see Mercedes throw a tantrum on some fan via video. So, for those of you who probably didn't see it, there's a video of Mercedes. I think she was on a treadmill, and she was doing like an Instagram live or something, a TikTok or whatever. And a fan said that her downfall needs to be studied or something like that, her downgrade. So she called the fan a bitch, then talked about how she's had, an upgrade in her bank account. She's having the best matches she's ever had. She got the best life ever. It's the greatest life ever. And all this sort of stuff. And I think she even had a fake laugh in there. I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is I think I said this before when I talked about the management team that she's got and how they come across like a cult. To me, it seems like she has, I hate to say this, she has some kind of mental illness, maybe like a touch of bipolar, maybe a teaspoon of it. And she has these people around her that kind of play into it. And when she has to interact with people, she's very irritable. Like, she's always snapping off on fans. Always. It's not like she just blocked the guy and that was it. She allows these little things to get under her skin so much. And it's unbecoming of somebody who wants to be a celebrity. Especially somebody who wants to be a role model. You can't be that sensitive. You've been in the public eye for over a decade. And you're still upset that some troll came into your comment section and said that you're on a downfall. That's weird. You shouldn't care about that kind of stuff. Especially if you don't think it's true. It's ridiculous, But just watching her, I'll never say that the girl is a bad wrestler. I'll say she's unathletic and maybe her personality is very fake. and she may have some kind of personality disorder or some kind of other mental problem. But she's a good wrestler, and she did her best here. But Anna Jay is just not that good. So we had FTR. FTR got beat up by the Death Riders. Apparently, they showed the clip. They said they didn't have any problems with Moxley. They said they actually agreed with them, but they didn't want him poisoning people, and for that, they got beat up. So both of them are not medically cleared for the next 2 weeks, even though they were sitting somewhere in somebody's living room. They said they're going to fight the Death Riders in 2 weeks on Fight for the Fallen, which is going to be, ironically enough, not at all a coincidence or a storyline, in their hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. Who cares about FTR bald and FTR hair? Nobody. Moving on. MJF came out and wasted everybody's time. He had nothing of note to say. He was wearing a Hanukkah-themed suit with stars of David and candles all over it. I thought it was humorous that he was dressed that way. He starts telling a story of an emaciated child, and there was the photo of Adam Cole being extremely skinny. Everybody groaned at this because it was really bad. Everything about this is trash. This is just not good. So Adam Cole shows up on the screen next. He actually looks healthy. He looks like his appropriate skin color. He doesn't have that crazy yellowish orange thing that he usually has going on. Nope, he's a white guy. So he looks like a white man. And he talked about World's End. He had a conversation with Tony Khan, and he decided to get some enforcers for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and it's Taven and Bennett. So everybody groaned because we already know what's about to happen. So Adam Cole says that MJF is a dead man because there's no way out at World's End. And then he stops and he says, "Am I kicking your ass yet?" And everybody's like, what? And then real Adam Cole attacks MJF because we were all distracted by the video that he timed to pop up at a specific hour, I guess. And they fight, and then, of course, they get separated. Now, with Taven and Bennett both being the enforcers for this match, we can be, let's just get all on record, they're going to turn heel on Adam Cole, right? I mean, they got to. Why else would they be the enforcers for that match? Why does the babyface need enforcers? Why does the babyface need somebody to guard him or whatever? They're going to turn. This is going to suck ass. This is going to be so bad. I don't want these people feuding anymore. You know, I was surprised Adam Cole was his correct skin color, but he's still painfully skinny. Still got the Gumby body. But my goodness, at least he's the right skin color this time. He looks healthy. His skin looks healthy. He looks clean. Jamie Hayter called Julia Hart a coward, challenged her to a match. Nobody gives a fuck. Christian Cage and Nick Wayne defeated Hook and Katsuyori Shibata. Nobody gives a fuck. Chris Jericho has a video where he's the king of New York. So he's walking around New York with the Ring of Honor World title, taking in the sights. He went ice skating, took some pictures. He waved. Okay. I mean, that's humorous. There was, to connect with the Chris Jericho piece, there was some conversation that Matt Cardona might be offered a contract by AEW, which is pure spite because he's been getting booked by GCW and he's actually been one of the top guys for GCW. If Cardona takes that deal, he's getting pulled from the Hammerstein show. That's absolutely going to happen. So the final battle main event is Cardona versus Jericho. Now, is Tony Khan, does he think he's manipulative enough to dangle in front of Matt Cardona, you could be world champion in Ring of Honor. All you got to do is sign the contract. And then Cardona, idiot, signs the contract, gets pulled from Hammerstein. And you see that they actually rewarded Willie Mack for not going, right? Because now he's in a what was that? The survival of the fittest, whatever, 6-man match at this show. I don't. Most when they looked at it, Willie Mack hadn't worked for AEW or Ring of Honor in months. But then as soon as he starts trying to work for GCW, all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna book you for Final Battle. All you gotta do is not go to the GCW show, and he didn't go. He's not going to go. And look, he's getting booked for Ring of Honor. Matt Cardona has been a free agent for 5 years. Remember, Cody brought him in as his friend, and then they didn't hire him. And now here it is 4 years later, because it might be petty enough to harm GCW. They're considering bringing in Matt Cardona. What a joke. I don't think Matt Cardona is a belt mark. I don't think he'll be stupid enough to take the bait. But he might, If he thinks that he's going to be on AEW TV, that's a lie. He's just going to be on Ring of Honor. And if he doesn't care about that, then he doesn't care. So I'll be interested in seeing what happens, but I'm not interested enough to watch that show. I am not watching that Final Battle show. That's not happening. That show looked like it's going to suck ass. They had another Bandito vignette. Mariah May is going to fight Thunder Rosa in a Tijuana street fight. How did we get to street fight? Where's the regular match between these two people? Why does it, and how is it a Tijuana street fight? They're not in Tijuana. They're going to be in, where is World's End? It's not in Mexico. What's happening here? This is not good. Speaking of not good, Ricochet was given a microphone again. The Hurt Business came out there. Ricochet started blowing smoke up their ass, asking if they saw him hurt these guys, beat these guys, and win these matches, and how many points he got in the Continental Classic, all this garbage. MVP was less than enthused. Asked Ricochet if he still had the card. He pulled the card out. Then Lashley grabbed his face. Just kind of smushed his face all up. MVP took the card from him and then tore it up and said nobody likes a kiss ass. Then they told him to kick rocks. And then Lashley smacked him in the back of his bald ass head like he was a little boy. I'm like, Ricochet. I wanted to jump through the screen like you getting sunned, man. Don't you understand what's happening? They're sunning you. You getting sunned. You're not going to be seen as a star when Lashley is smacking you on the back of your bald ass head. That's what they do to kids. You're a grown man. You got married. You got kids. Don't let people smack you in the back of your bald head. If you were in jail, you'd be washing his underwear. All right? You'd be holding his pocket. This is not good. Ricochet talking already is not good. But his presentation has been abysmal. So later, Ricochet said they the homies. He's still kissing their ass. And then said he's focused on beating Will Ospreay and winning the Continental Classic. Then Swerve Strickland, who got the biggest reaction of the night, even though he was just in a backstage promo. I think he called Ricochet a turd. I think he might have called him that. But then he says that he knew that it wouldn't be long before the real Trevor showed up. And he says that Ricochet is what he always has been, which is a follower. And then Ricochet says he knows the real Swerve too. And he knows that the real Swerve didn't win the Continental Classic last year. So he's going to be tight when Ricochet wins it this year. Which actually made me laugh when he does that. I think he did it twice, and I laughed at that each time. He's pretty funny with that. But Ricochet is not good in promo. He didn't fit the Hurt Business anyway. Hopefully this is part of a larger story of Hurt Business and Ricochet. But him getting sunned like that, I cannot stand it. Oh, it looks so bad. I feel so bad for him. Because I see his star power drooping every week. Every week he's coming across less and less like somebody you want to watch on television, and more like somebody's punk ass little brother. You're not going to survive like that, brother. It's not going to work. So if Ricochet does a 180 and ends up in the Hurt business, he's going to have to do something pretty drastic. But it ain't looking like it. So, going from wanting to bring Ricochet in to smacking him in the back of the head, that's crazy. Anyway, MVP gave Shelton Benjamin his orders to hurt somebody, and he has a match with the Beast Mortos. And this match was not as good as it could have been. The purpose of this match was to get Shelton over, and that's what happened. So Mortos did not have the match that he normally could have here. It was a slower, more methodical match that was more Shelton's pace. That didn't really give Mortos much. That's unfortunate. Daniel Garcia and Mark Briscoe charged the ring because they want to fight Shelton Benjamin in the Hurt business, and they got beat up, of course. One of these guys is wrestling Shelton Benjamin next in the Continental Classic, but nobody cares about that stuff because it's going to be on Collision, and nobody's going to watch it. So, next, Toni Storm. She had a sit down with RJ City, and they have decided that Toni Storm has rewound time, and she now has amnesia. She's got an R-Truth gimmick. She doesn't know that she's been in AEW this whole time. She thinks that she just got there. She called herself a hustler and a grinder from the indies, and said that it's not timeless Toni, it's Toni time. And she's that character now. And that's weird. It's very weird. There was this whole hubbub about Toni having her first match on Rampage. And I something about it was supposed to be symbolic. I don't know if it meant that Toni's original first match was on Rampage, or it was just a way of introducing this character before people saw it on Dynamite. But apparently she did this whole thing on Rampage and Collision before we got here to Dynamite. She's been doing this thing where she's got amnesia. She doesn't know that she's been here the whole time. And I don't understand. I get it. It hasn't really clicked with me. I'm going to give it some more time. But she's off the rails. Like, she's completely off the rails with this character. She's walking around introducing herself to people. You know, she's extremely excited. She's an excited babyface. And it seems that some people are getting on board with it because they just want to like it, I guess. While other people are very skittish about it. I think I would probably be in the skittish camp. I'm willing to go on the journey, but you're going to have to make it worth it. And I don't know if they can. I don't trust Tony Khan or RJ City, who I'm pretty sure is behind all of this, to make this worth everybody's time. You know? But they have made the Rockstar version of Tony a little bit more interesting. How are they going to bloom it to make it interesting? You know, how are they going to rebuild the character? So I don't know how that's going to work, but I wanted to give them the space because I know when you try to tell stories, the beginning can sometimes be rough. And we know what the inciting incident of this is, that she lost the world title and she went on a losing streak in Mexico. And now she's kind of separating herself from Timeless Toni, and she's going through some kind of traumatic shock, which is similar to when she ended up losing her mind and becoming Timeless Toni in the first place. I think using time to define the character, and this is Toni Storm over the times, would be a fun gimmick to do. Again, I think you left a lot of money on the table by not doing 1920s Toni, 1940s, 1970s Toni. That kind of thing would have been really fun to do. But you still have to have an end goal for all of this stuff. And now that she's on this track where she's doing this amnesiac character, I don't understand where that goes. Like, is she just going to wrestle on Collision and Rampage as she, quote unquote, builds wins? And then what, she wrestles Mariah May again? And then I would imagine she's not going to win. then what? You know, like, so I'm interested in the story and where it might go, but I'm not fully behind RJ City and all of them to be able to tell this story appropriately. All right. So this show is, of course, strictly for the sickos. There's no way you can enjoy this show if you're a normal person. If you're a normal wrestling fan, this show is almost unwatchable. I said it a couple of weeks ago. This show was virtually unwatchable. I watched as much of it as one could possibly do, you know, because there were things in it that I kind of wanted to see. And then those things turned into things that I didn't want to see. But Ricochet doing his Jadakiss laugh is pretty funny, you know. He's becoming a little bit more delusional. And he still can't talk, but at least it's a gimmick. At least it's a character. At least it's interesting. He's going to lose to Will Ospreay on Collision. And the interesting thing is about putting that match on Collision is it actually does get people to watch Collision. Because there are a lot of people who want to see that match. But I think that match is basically going to end up turning into a meme right after it happens. And people will have decided once they see the highlights, they don't need to see the whole match. I don't want to watch Collision. I may just watch that match though. And you know what? That might be a match commentary coming up soon. Anyway, AEW Dynamite basura as usual. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session, but you got an affection for no progression, regression. The best don't.